How's it going? Okay, so today we're going to do the Liftsup handle. I'm going to drop it in this board. I'll show you how to center and balance the board, how to route the handle, and how to get it prepped for glassing. And if we have time, we'll throw some resin on it, glue it in, and glass over it. So the first thing that's most important, where most people kind of find an error, is the handle's not put in the balance point of the board. In order to do that, you have to kind of have a fin on the board. You're going to set the board on something you can balance it on. You're going to find center. So you want to get that board to bounce right. So that's balancing nice. We come under and mark it. And then we'll take it in the sanding room and get it ready to route. Okay, so now that we're in the sanding room, I'll show you the tools. This is the jig. So you see where I have the center line. This board doesn't have a stringer, so I'm going to actually put the handle directly in the center of the board. I'm going to use these lines to line it up this way, and this line to line it up with the center of the board. So I'll kind of step back and eyeball it like we always do in the surf industry. That looks good. Secure it with some tape. Okay, so that's in place. Now we have two different plates. One plate does the deep hole, the bigger plate does the flange. So one's going to route this depth and this outline, the other is going to do this flange in a real shallow depth. So I always do the deep hole first. I'll put that plate on. Okay, so I have this little jig that measures the depth, and I just double check it. Obviously you want a mask and goggles. It's kind of hard to talk through all of it, so I'm just going to keep the foam. Now we're going to come back in and we're going to do the flange route. So I'm going to make sure that's sitting nice and flat to your plate. The depth of the flange route is the thickness of these two sticks put together. So that's going to be how much I'm going to cut to set the flange. Alright, so let's see how this guy fits in there. Look at that. Just barely under the surface of the board. And then this is going to be your resin dam, which is going to get a sticker over it. So now what I'm going to do is I want to put fiberglass over the top of this. So I'm going to sand this and make a little pattern where the cloth is going to be able to adhere to the board. Good. Alright, then we'll go to the glassing step. Okay, here we go. We're going to sink a couple handles. We routed the holes earlier, got the boards prepped. This type of material bonds to epoxy and regular resin a lot better if it's been etched with acetone to get rid of the mold release. So I just kind of come in and make sure that the whole part of the box it's going to get sunk into the board is kind of wet and soaked with some acetone. I'm sure if you have the handle, you'll know that it came with these stickers, vinyl stickers, to cover the resin down. You're going to want to place those over the resin dam, make sure it's on nice and tight. So what we're going to do is we're going to come in here, paint this with resin, leave about 3/8 of an inch of resin in the bottom of the hole, sink this box until it floods, and then we're going to cover it with 2 pieces of cloth. I always pour resin around the top like this to make sure that flange area is going to get wet. And then I paint all the foam inside. And then I make sure there is, say it's about 1/4 of an inch of resin sitting in the bottom. Okay, so now we're going to take the handle, it has that sticker on top. And we're going to sink it in. And you got to rock it back and forth to get all the resin to come out. Okay, so obviously we have plenty of resin. So I'm going to get rid of a little bit of that excess. Resin came up out of all those holes, so that lets you know that it's completely sealed all the way around. So I'm going to throw a couple pieces of cloth on there. And we'll just kind of do a quick little lamb. So I'm sure if you're doing this, you know how to laminate, you know how to use all your resin. Couple little teeny tricks. Obviously, epoxy heats up when it goes off. So let me show you. What I always do is once I get the cloth laminated pretty well, I'll come in and I'll cut the cloth off the center of the box, right along the outside of this flange. And that allows the cloth to sit really flat to the part so that you get good flush cloth right along the edge. So I'll pull this piece off. Okay. And then come back in and clean up that right along the edge. And then I go like that. Put a little air hole right there. Once I'm done doing all the resin work, it lets the hot air escape and it keeps it from overheating. So that's basically the glass job. Then we'll come in and sand it smooth, sand that vinyl sticker off and make it flush, and then the part's finished.